welcome back to Florida Foodie. I'm your host, Candace Campos, along with our producer, Thomas Mates.
Hello.
And Orlando's food scene has been growing and changing so fast, especially as more people are moving here to Central Florida. So for more than a decade, today's guest has been following all the happenings in the area's restaurant community with his very delicious looking food blog. And we are happy to be joined today by Ricky Lee from Tasty Chomps Orlando. Ricky, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Candace and Thomas. Yes, glad to be here. Can't wait to speak about food.
Yes, that's what we like to do on this podcast, is talk about food. It brings people together. And so kind of give us a little background. This is not what you went to school for, though, is what I'm understanding.
Yep, I'm a civil engineer by trade. So, but I did write for the UCF newspaper back in the day, just like restaurant reviews and things like that. And so after I graduated, after work, I had some free time and started blogging and haven't stopped since. So, yeah. Yeah.
So do you still do a little civil engineering on the side? Or are you just all jobs?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Civil engineering for sure. And food blogging by night. That's what I do.
Is there any sort of like crossover between the two, or?
I think a lot of engineers love food too. People of all backgrounds love food. So, but I don't think there's too much. I'm not designing any restaurants right now. So.
But I'm just trying to think, like, how do you become how do you start something like this? Did you just fall in love with food at a young age? Was it something that kind of hit you while you were in school? How did it all start?
Growing up, my family, we're Vietnamese immigrants, so we had a big family, and every weekend almost was some celebration around food, whether there's an anniversary or a birthday, and there would always be huge platters of, egg rolls and noodles and things like that growing up. And my dad, he actually had a Asian grocery store down in West Palm Beach. Growing up, and that was kind of a community kind of hub as well. And so growing up, I always wanted to kind of share those stories with others of about food and places that you don't hear about too much, so that was kind of the inspiration behind it. And I just did it, and just kept at it and didn't stop. So I definitely encourage folks, to pursue, whatever their heart's desire, because there's nothing to really put you in a box, right? So.
And how long after you started did people start to like take notice?
Actually it was pretty quick. Like after a couple of years, around like 2013, 2014, I was asked to write a book about the food in Orlando called The Food Lover's Guide to Orlando. So that came out in 2013. And then there was like all these other things that happened. Like there was like an International Food Blogger Association that I was a part of, and we went to London and things like that. So it was pretty fun. Past couple of years, we had a group called the Orlando Foodie Forum. I'm not sure if y'all are in there, but it gets pretty exciting about topics. So, it's great community.
And you probably do stories about certain chefs and things in restaurants all the time. Is there like one story that just sticks with you?
One story of like going out and food blogging, or
yeah. Is there just one fun story that you were just like, I remember the day when?
It was really cool. One time I popped into I think it was Luma on Park at that time. Brandon McGlamory. It was like way back in the day, like 2010 or something like that. And he was making some mac and cheese dish for Oprah, like the Oprah's website or something. And we're just chatting and just learning about, his history and his background and his love for fishing. And it was such a great time. There's just so many memories over the years of different events and things like that. So I can't really, there was a couple of years ago, we had our very first ramen rumble battle at I think at the Osprey Tavern.
How did we miss this, Thomas?
Yeah, so great. We had like Chef Chow from Sushi Pop and some other chefs from around town. They all had a little throwdown, and then we did it for the next couple of years. So it was pretty fun. And actually, the Chin family, who owns Sato and Reyes, and actually the new Monroe, they helped put that all on and help plan it together. It was so fun. Yeah. And that was before, there was a lot of ramen places in town. So now there's a little bit more. It's
Gotta let us know the next time this happens, because Thomas and I will be there.
Yeah, our one of our past guests, Chef Kevin from Sticky Rice, I believe, took part in that one year.
He won one year. Yes. Yeah, he did. Yeah. On the second year, he won the battle. It was really good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, and over the years, I mean, you can imagine how much, and you were even talking about how many more ramen restaurants there are now. I mean, how would you describe the evolving restaurant life here? I mean, it's been so different.
I moved up here in 2003, so a special night out would be going to like Cheesecake Factory or something like that, right? But, you know, and obviously, as trends have changed, you know, I think the Food Network is a huge part of that, you know, and Anthony Bourdain and all those travels, and YouTube too. Back then, it would take years for trends to come to Orlando. And now it takes days, maybe minutes, you know, once a trend pops up on the internet and someone's already trying it out here locally in Central Florida. So I think that was a huge change. I think regional palates have changed. You know, back in the day it would be like, you know, just Chinese food, but now we've got Sichuan, you know, you got Cantonese and other areas, Japanese more now too. So Laotian, sticky rice. So there's so much more diversity for sure in the past 10 years, even 15 years. So, and the quality, you know, some of the restaurants, you know, do rival those in other big cities. At least, you know, like Vietnamese food, for example, definitely a lot better here in Orlando than some places in New York. So we'll see. Yeah, it's always evolving. Yeah.
Yeah. Orlando obviously brings in so many people from outside the area. I mean, we kind of joke that like no one's from Florida. Everyone just kind of moves to Florida. But, you know, we with so many people coming in from outside the area, are you finding that most of your traffic are locals who are looking to find those like hole in the wall places, or those, you know, just something new they haven't tried before? Or are they the tourists coming in who are like, oh, I want to get away from the theme parks. I want some local flavor?
I do hear a lot more of new people that have moved here, you know, for example, like, oh, here I'm new in town trying to find, you know, what's the best Italian or what's the best, you know, et cetera, to try. Obviously, there's some long time, you know, Orlando natives too. And, you know, they go back to the Beefy King days and things like that. Linda's La Cantina, all the great hits. You know, tourists, there's not too many I hear from, but occasionally, especially the past year, you know, a lot less, but, you know, hopefully as things pick up, you know, a lot of folks come down for conventions and things like that. And they may have an afternoon. They're like, hey, Ricky, where can I go for this or that, or a taste of Orlando, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that Taste of Orlando too continues to just expand so much. So you talked a little bit about your book. So kind of give us an idea of what your book is all about.
It was called The Food Lover's Guide to Orlando, and basically split up the different neighborhoods, if you will. You know, like you got their Mills 50, you got Winter Park, and just kind of like our favorite restaurants of each. And actually, a lot of them are still around, but you know, obviously, it's almost 10 years now since that book came out. But you can get it on Amazon and things like that.
Are you thinking about doing an update?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. People always ask me that, but you know, my blog is pretty much the update. I've got like a newsletter that goes out every week, and you know, if you miss a blog, then you can check your email and you'll see what's happening. And the foodie form is another one. So.
Obviously, you know, you've been working in the food scene in the Orlando area for so long. I'm sure you have a lot of connections to, you know, all the various chefs and restaurants and everything like that. And you know, you mentioned with the pandemic that, you know, like things were tough in the past year. You know, like what's some of the perspective, or what's some of the stories you've been hearing of people from the restaurant scene as they've been, you know, struggling and muddling their way through this?
You know, during the pandemic, for sure, you know, there's a lot of uncertainties with the lockdowns and, you know, closing the dining room and, you know, going to go only. So a lot of folks had to pivot. And thankfully, from what I've heard, you know, a lot of folks were able to successfully move in that direction to take out. But right now, I feel that there does seem to be difficulty to pivot back, you know, to dine in and stuff. And as many workers in the service industry may have already left, you know, to other fields, you know, that were hiring during that time. So there's definitely a labor shortage going on, and people are trying to figure that out. So. Mm-hmm.
When you talk about different restaurants and things like that, you were talking about how there's all these different scenes, there's different little pockets. Is there any new little pockets? Because, we talk about Mills, we talk about Winter Park. Are there any new kind of unexpected pop-ups of little restaurants that someone who maybe, so used to the same spots over and over again, although they are good, are there some places that we could be maybe on the lookout that there might be some stuff going on there?
I do know that there's more and more food halls. That's a big trend right now.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Park, there's going to be a new one. In Oviedo, there'll be a new one. And Sanford, downtown Sanford, there's a Henry's Depot down there. So there's like kind of a evolution going on with more food halls and things like that I'm seeing. Out in Western Orlando, of course, the Plant Street Market, and there's another one. I forget the name of it, but
so for somebody who doesn't know what that is, can you explain to us what that
food hall is? Like basically like a building where there's multiple different restaurants. I think the first one was like East End Market, where, like, but you got Domu there, you got Gideon's Cookies, different slew, and it's almost like an incubator for new concepts too. And speaking of new concepts, during the pandemic, of course, there's been a lot more ghost kitchens where folks are just delivery only. And down on Conroy and I think Curry 4, there's a place called Collab Kitchens where you can get to go and things like that, where it's almost like an incubator before they like open up a brick and mortar restaurant where they test out their ideas. Like there's like a Korean lunchbox to go place and Singapore style chicken. And off in the west side of town, there's the Dollins Food Hall and White Castle's there and a bunch of other places too. But it's amazing. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But we'll see how it goes, with rent and everything like that, if it makes sense.
What do you think is the attractiveness of the food hall concept? Like, it was food trucks, pop-ups have become more popular. So like, why food halls now? Why is that the next step?
People want air conditioning. I'm just kidding.
What's that?
I said people want air conditioning.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, we're in Central Florida, right? And summers are brutal. Rain. Well, if you have a food truck, how are you going to stand in the rain to order your food, right? So, yeah, definitely covered area and air conditioning are two pluses from that. Can you believe it's almost been 10 years since the first, gourmet food truck was on the scene here in Orlando?
Crazy.
Yeah, time is flying by, and obviously this might be like a evolution of that. And obviously it's attractive because it's a little less overhead than opening a full restaurant, supposedly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, food trucks always like bothered me because I was like, I just want to sit on the heat, and by the time I pick something, then my husband is in line for someplace else, and then we're standing there over like a half of a table trying to eat. So this had a little more of a restaurant feel without it having to be, like you said, owning a whole restaurant.
Exactly. And you got the choices too, let's say your husband wants something and your kids want another. So, what are some of your favorite spots around town? What do you, some things maybe that are a little more hole in the wall that you think people overlook?
Hole in the walls.
Overlook. All right. Let's see.
It's like we're quizzing him, Thomas. Yeah.
Right. There's a really good place, Kai Asian in Castleberry.
Kai Asian rains down.
Wings and garlic noodles. They've got this changing menu of noodles that always, are always so good. I always ask them when their seafood fun noodles are back on because they always take it out. But their wings are really good. And I think they're expanding in the future too to the new Oviedo food hall place. So we'll see how it goes. Another one on Mills, Tori Tori. It's a Japanese gastropub. Very nice for those 21 and up. It is a bar area. I'm not sure. I think you can dine in if you're under, but it's more of a bar place. But there's really good food like crab fried rice and all these chicken skewers and things like that. And it's owned by the folks who created Domu, the ramen place. So other hole in the wall kind of places and little nooks and crannies. Let's see. West Orlando. There's a lot of new pop-ups coming up.
He's like strategizing in his head while he's singing this. He's going, okay, this dish is good, but this thing is here.
Yeah. All depends on what you like. There's some really good Italian places, Tornatore's in College Park. They've got they make their own pastas there. So they got a chef that used to work at Kay's restaurant in College Park there too. Just so many great places in Orlando nowadays. We're lucky, so hopefully keep it up.
Yeah. Do you feel like there might be the new resurgence of new places just because everything places that maybe were barely surviving obviously didn't survive 2020. Do you feel like there was kind of this new space and this new kind of clean slate for some and like a resurgence of others?
Oh yeah, you all heard the stories of those Disney chefs who were furloughed in the pandemic and started their own bakery and doing well. And some people are just sticking to it and doing it for the future. So a lot of folks starting out on their own and testing the waters there. There's a guy, I'm not sure if you heard of him, Brad's Underground Pizza. He's on Instagram and he's doing this Chicago style deep dish pizza. And he was very popular online during the pandemic. And actually he just got a announcement that he's going to be having a spot at the Collab Kitchen area in Curry Ford. And so he'll have a physical location now in the future. So it's almost like, you go from Instagram only to, having a semi brick and mortar place and, full restaurant in the future. So we'll see.
I've been trying to get a hold of Brad. I've messaged him on Instagram. I've messaged him through his website that's now up now and the email.
Ricky, hook us up.
Radio stuff. Yeah. If you know Brad, you can send him my way.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Especially since he's going to be opening up the place now. So definitely probably be.
Yeah, right. Brad, if you're listening.
Less underground, above ground pizza.
Above ground. Come above ground. And I would love to, I feel like nowadays too, with all these new restaurants and things like that, just kind of seeing the chefs, because a lot of people are now supporting the local, like you were talking about before. 10 years ago, everything was all about, the Cheesecake Factories. And listen, not to poo-poo Cheesecake Factory, but there is something about supporting someone here in Central Florida and supporting. So I feel like also getting to know and learn more about, through your blog as well, learning more about chefs and the people who work behind the scenes, I feel makes you fall in love even more with the food because you're starting to know who made it.
Speaking of somewhere new, have you ever heard of Illume at the Marriott at Bonnet Creek?
Illume, no, but I'm writing on it now.
It's a new hotel actually over by Bonnet Creek Resort by Disney Springs. They opened July of 2020, so you can imagine this is a few for them. But they just opened a rooftop restaurant, beautiful views. Once the fireworks start up, again, if they haven't already, you can see right there. Great cocktails and great, there's sushi and some other small side dishes, but you go for the views kind of thing. On the first floor, there's a place called Sear and Sea, which is more fine dining kind of place. But hey, speaking of fine dining, Magical Dining Month is coming up. And right now, if you're listening to this in June, July, Bite 30 is going on. So quite a few ways to try places on a budget.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I mean, is there one that you're really looking forward to?
Actually, they haven't announced yet what's going to be on Magical.
Do you know of any?
I don't know if they know.
On site.
But we'll find out. Yeah, but your typical places, that are usually on there is pretty good. Right, Kabuki is on there on the Bite 30, so definitely check that one out. Chef Henry Mosa was nominated for Rising Chef of the Year by the Spirit Award last year, so that's quite an honor for Central Florida, and always good to support. Yeah.
So what's next? What's next for Tasty Chomps?
What's next? Well, hopefully once we get things handled with the pandemic, maybe we'll have some more in-person events. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a night market festival. We'll see. Things like that. So always looking for, new flavors and things like that in our area. So we'll see. Maybe a night market. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So where can everyone find you? Obviously tastychomps.com, and give us all your social media and everything.
Instagram at Tasty Chomps, Facebook, Twitter, same thing, and a little bit on TikTok, but not really too much yet. It's
that's for those young kids.
Man, yeah, seriously. Yeah. So I don't understand half the lingo nowadays. Definitely, I am old. So,
all right, and not to end on a downer, but if you have to have your last meal, you had to pick one from Central Florida.
Last meal. That's a big.
I always ask the chef, "What's your favorite item on the menu?" But you have everybody's menu. So if there's one meal, I told you, this is going to be your last meal.
Candace has condemned you to death.
No, I didn't.
Trying to think. I do love. All right, it was last meal. I gotta go big, right? Bull and Bear. They've got very fantastic dish called the Pasta Explosion. Little ravioli stuff with little cheese and prosciutto, and they've got really great lamb there. So much great dishes. I don't know what they do over there, but it's so good. And
it's magical.
line up, make reservations 2 months ahead. So,
wow.
During the pandemic. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. I know you're very busy. You have a lot of things you're juggling around with, but as soon as you guys start opening up and doing more events, just let us know. We'd love to kind of cover it and follow along because, I mean, like you said, every year it's a new scene. There's a new wave. There's a new something. So.
Yes. And thank you for all you do to shine a light out here. So any ideas, coming out, I'll definitely send them your way. So.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Florida Foodie. We'd also like to thank our guest, Ricky Lee from Tasty Chomps. You can find more from Tasty Chomps at tastychomps.com and by searching Tasty Chomps on Facebook and Instagram. You can find Candace Campos on social media as well. She's on Twitter, just search at Candace News 6, and on Facebook, search Candace Campos News 6. Also, a big thank you to our technical producers, Derek Mosier and Ryan Haley. On the show's producer, Thomas Mates. Florida Foodie is available to download wherever you get your podcasts. Please take the time to rate and review us as well. You can find videos of all of our podcasts at clickorlando.com/podcasts. And to keep up to date with all the latest foodie news, head to clickorlando.com/Florida Foodie.